What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved actors reaches his breaking point on live television? What happens when years of pent-up frustration finally explode in the most unexpected place? Today, we're diving into the moment Danny DeVito absolutely lost it on The View. And trust me, you've never seen anything like this before. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and what Joy Behar said next will leave you speechless. Make sure you subscribe and drop a comment below because this story has more twists than a pretzel factory. It was supposed to be just another routine appearance on The View. Danny DeVito was there to promote his latest project, expecting the usual softball questions about his career and upcoming films. The legendary actor, known for his quick wit and no-nonsense attitude, settled into the familiar panel setup, coffee mug in hand, ready for what he assumed would be a pleasant chat. Joy Behar, as always, took the lead in the interview. "So Danny, you've been in Hollywood for decades now. You've seen a lot of changes," she began with her signature smirk. "Tell us, what do you think about all these young actors today complaining about everything? Back in your day, people just did their jobs without all the drama, right?" Danny shifted slightly in his seat, his eyebrows raising just a fraction. "Well, Joy, I think every generation faces their own challenges. These young actors today, they're dealing with social media, constant scrutiny, mental health issues that weren't even talked about when I started out." "Oh, please," Joy interrupted with a dismissive wave. "Mental health, social media pressure, give me a break. When I was coming up, we didn't have safe spaces and participation trophies. We had real problems, real struggles. These kids today are just soft." The other hosts exchanged glances, sensing the shift in Danny's demeanor. His jaw tightened slightly, but he maintained his composure. "I wouldn't call anxiety and depression being soft, Joy. I think that's a pretty dangerous way to think about it." Joy leaned forward, her voice dripping with condescension. "Danny, come on. You're from New Jersey. You know what real tough is? These Hollywood brats crying about their feelings when they're making millions of dollars? It's embarrassing. They should be grateful for what they have instead of complaining all the time." "Grateful?" Danny's voice had an edge to it now. "Joy, success doesn't immunize you from human emotions or mental health struggles. Some of the most successful people I know have fought the hardest battles with depression and anxiety." "That's exactly the problem," Joy shot back, her tone becoming more aggressive. "Everyone's a victim now. Everyone has some sob story about their struggles. What happened to personal responsibility? What happened to just dealing with your problems instead of making them everyone else's problem?" The studio audience was unusually quiet, sensing the growing tension between the two. Danny's knuckles were white as he gripped his coffee mug, his famous smile nowhere to be found. "Personal responsibility," Danny repeated slowly, his voice getting lower. "You want to talk about personal responsibility, Joy?" "Absolutely. These young actors need to stop whining and start taking responsibility for their own happiness. Stop blaming society. Stop blaming the industry. Stop blaming everyone but themselves." Danny set his coffee mug down with a deliberate thud. "So when a young actor takes their own life because they can't handle the pressure, that's just lack of personal responsibility?" Joy didn't miss a beat. If someone can't handle the pressure of being rich and famous, maybe they shouldn't have chosen that career path. There are plenty of people who would kill for those opportunities. The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Danny's face was turning red, his breathing becoming more pronounced. The other hosts looked uncomfortable, shifting in their seats, but none dared to interrupt. "That's interesting, Joy," Danny said, his voice dangerously calm. "So you think mental health is just a choice? You think depression is just people being weak?" "I think people need to toughen up," Joy replied smugly. "My generation didn't have time for all this emotional hand-holding. We had real problems to deal with." "Real problems?" Danny nodded slowly. "Tell me, Joy, what real problems did you have to deal with when you were starting out in comedy? What was so much harder about your experience?" Joy's confidence faltered for just a moment before she regained her composure. "Well, we didn't have all the resources these kids have today. We didn't have therapy on every corner and support groups for everything. We just had to figure it out ourselves." "Right," Danny said, his voice getting sharper. "You had to figure it out yourselves. And how did that work out for your generation? How many comedians from your era struggled with addiction? How many died too young because they were just trying to figure it out themselves?" "That's completely different," Joy snapped. "Addiction is a disease. Mental health is just attitude." Danny's eyes widened in disbelief. Did you just say mental health is just attitude? Did those words actually come out of your mouth on national television? The tension in the studio was palpable. Cameras zoomed in on Danny's face, capturing every micro-expression of his growing anger. Joy, seemingly oblivious to the volcano about to erupt, doubled down on her position. Yes, I did say that, because it's true. Mental health is largely about your mindset, your attitude toward life. If you choose to be positive, if you choose to be grateful for what you have, you'll be happier. It's that simple. Danny stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. The sudden movement startled everyone on set. "It's that simple?" he asked, his voice rising. "Joy, do you have any idea how ignorant you sound right now?" "Ignorant?" Joy's voice pitched higher. "I'm ignorant for believing in personal responsibility and positive thinking?" "You're ignorant for dismissing the legitimate struggles of an entire generation," Danny fired back. "You're ignorant for thinking that mental health issues are just a matter of attitude. You're ignorant for sitting on this platform and spreading dangerous misinformation about topics you clearly know nothing about." The producers were frantically gesturing from behind the cameras, but there was no stopping what was about to happen. Danny was past the point of no return, and Joy had just lit the final fuse. "You know what, Joy?" Danny continued, his voice now filling the entire studio. "I've been in this business for over 50 years. I've worked with hundreds of actors, young and old. I've seen the brightest talents destroy themselves because they believed exactly what you just said, that their pain wasn't real, that they just needed to toughen up." Joy tried to interject. "Danny, I think you're overreacting." "Overreacting?" Danny's laugh was harsh and bitter. "I'm overreacting? You just told millions of viewers that mental health is an attitude problem. You just dismissed the struggles of every person watching this show who battles depression, anxiety, or any other mental health condition. And I'm overreacting?" The other host sat frozen, unsure whether to intervene or let this play out. The audience was completely silent, transfixed by the raw emotion pouring out of the normally jovial actor. "Look, Danny," Joy said, trying to regain control of the situation. "I'm not saying mental health isn't real. I'm just saying that people today are too quick to use it as an excuse." "An excuse?" Danny exploded. "An excuse for what, Joy? An excuse for being human? An excuse for struggling? Do you think Robin Williams used depression as an excuse? Do you think Philip Seymour Hoffman used addiction as an excuse? These were brilliant, talented people who fought battles you can't even imagine." Joy's face was getting red now, her defensive walls going up. "That's not what I meant, and you know it. I'm talking about entitled young actors who cry victim every time something doesn't go their way." "Entitled?" Danny stepped closer to the panel, his hands gesturing emphatically. "You want to talk about entitled? You're sitting here, on national television, with a platform that reaches millions of people, and you're using it to spread ignorance and stigma about mental health. If that's not entitled, I don't know what is." "I have every right to my opinion," Joy shot back, her voice getting shrill. "This is America. I can say what I think." "You absolutely have the right to your opinion." Danny agreed, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "And I have the right to tell you that your opinion is dangerous, uninformed, and frankly disgusting." The word disgusting hit like a slap. Joy's mouth fell open, clearly not expecting such direct confrontation. "Excuse me? Did you just call my opinion disgusting?" "I called it what it is," Danny replied without hesitation. "It's disgusting to minimize the pain of people struggling with mental health. It's disgusting to perpetuate the stigma that keeps people from seeking help. It's disgusting to sit on a platform like this and spread misinformation that could literally cost lives." Joy stood up now, matching Danny's energy. "How dare you lecture me about what I can and cannot say on my own show? I've been doing this for decades. I don't need some actor telling me how to do my job." "Your job?" Danny laughed incredulously. "Is your job to spread ignorance? Is your job to shame people for their mental health struggles? Because if that's your job, then you're doing it perfectly." The tension was so thick, it was suffocating. The cameras captured every moment of this unprecedented confrontation, and viewers around the country were glued to their screens. "I am not shaming anyone," Joy insisted, but her voice was less confident now. "I'm simply saying that people need to take responsibility for their own happiness." "And what about the people who are taking responsibility?" Danny demanded. "What about the people who are getting therapy, taking medication, doing everything they can to manage their mental health? Are they just not trying hard enough for you, Joy?" That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said, Danny's voice boomed. You said mental health is just attitude. You said people just need to choose to be positive. Do you have any idea how harmful that message is? Do you understand that there are people watching this show right now who might stop taking their medication because you just told them their illness is all in their head? Joy's composure was cracking. I never said anyone should stop taking medication. You didn't have to say it explicitly, Danny interrupted. When you tell someone their depression is just a bad attitude, what do you think happens next? When you tell someone their anxiety is just them being soft, what's the logical conclusion? The other hosts were looking between Danny and Joy like spectators at a tennis match, afraid to get involved in what had become a very personal confrontation. I think you're putting words in my mouth, Joy said, but her voice was wavering now. Am I? Danny pulled out his phone. Should I play back what you said? Should we listen to your exact words again? Because I guarantee you every person in this audience heard exactly what I heard. The audience murmured in agreement, and Joy's face flushed deeper red. She was losing this battle, and she knew it. Fine, she said, crossing her arms defensively. Maybe I could have chosen my words more carefully, but my point stands. Too many people use mental health as a crutch instead of doing the hard work of improving their lives. Danny stared at her in disbelief. A crutch? You just called mental health conditions a crutch. On live television, in front of millions of people. Do you hear yourself right now? I didn't call mental health conditions a crutch. Joy backpedaled quickly. I said some people use it as a crutch. Who, Joy? Danny demanded. Who specifically are you talking about? Which young actors are using their depression as a crutch? Which ones are faking their anxiety for attention? Give me names, give me examples, because I'd love to hear this. Joy opened and closed her mouth several times, clearly struggling to come up with a response. I'm speaking generally. No, you're not speaking generally, Danny cut her off. You're making specific accusations about specific people without any evidence. You're perpetuating harmful stereotypes that have been used to dismiss and marginalize people with mental health conditions for generations. The studio was dead silent except for the hum of the cameras. Every eye was on this confrontation that had spiraled far beyond what anyone expected. You know what the real problem is, Joy? Danny continued, his voice getting more intense. The real problem is people like you who think they have the right to judge who's struggling enough to deserve compassion. The real problem is this attitude that pain has to be visible to be valid. Joy tried one more time to defend herself. I'm not judging anyone's pain. I'm just saying that some people handle adversity better than others. And there it is, Danny said, throwing his hands up in exasperation. Some people handle adversity better than others. Translation: some people are just stronger, some people are just tougher, some people are just better at being human. Do you understand how toxic that mindset is? Joy's face was now a deep shade of crimson, her carefully applied makeup starting to show stress lines. I think you're deliberately misinterpreting everything I'm saying to make me look bad. I don't need to make you look bad, Joy, Danny replied coldly. You're doing that perfectly well on your own. Every word that comes out of your mouth is making you look worse. The other hosts finally attempted to intervene. Maybe we should take a commercial break, one of them suggested weakly. No, Danny said firmly, never taking his eyes off Joy. We're not taking a break. We're going to finish this conversation because it's too important. Joy started this, and we're going to see it through. Joy straightened her shoulders, trying to reclaim some authority. Fine. You want to finish this? Let's finish it. I stand by what I said. This generation is too sensitive, too entitled, and too quick to play the victim card. The victim card? Danny repeated slowly, shaking his head. You know what, Joy? I've met actual victims. I've met young actors who've attempted suicide because they couldn't handle the pressure and the shame. I've held their hands in hospital rooms while they recovered from overdoses. I've spoken at funerals for talented people who couldn't see any other way out. And you want to call that playing the victim card? The raw emotion in Danny's voice was palpable. Several audience members were visibly moved, some wiping away tears. That's tragic, Joy said, but her tone suggested she was just going through the motions. But those are extreme cases. I'm talking about the everyday complaints, the constant whining about how hard their lives are. Their lives are hard, Danny exploded. Do you think being famous makes you immune to human suffering? Do you think money erases childhood trauma? Do you think success cures anxiety disorders? I think money and success give you resources that most people don't have. Joy replied stubbornly. These actors have access to the best therapists, the best treatment centers, the best of everything. What's their excuse? Danny's laugh was bitter and sharp. Their excuse? Their excuse for what, Joy? Their excuse for being human? Their excuse for having the same brain chemistry that affects millions of people regardless of their bank account? Look, Joy said, clearly growing frustrated with the direction of the conversation. All I'm saying is that when I see these young actors constantly complaining about their mental health struggles while living in mansions and driving luxury cars, it's hard to have sympathy. And that, Danny said, pointing directly at her, is exactly the problem. You think suffering is only valid if it comes with poverty. You think pain only counts if it's accompanied by financial struggle. That's not how mental health works, Joy. That's not how human beings work. Joy crossed her arms defiantly. I think perspective matters. I think gratitude matters. And I think too many of these young people have lost sight of both. Perspective. Danny nodded slowly. You want to talk about perspective? Let me give you some perspective. When a young actor stands on a red carpet, smiling for cameras, they might be fighting the urge to panic. When they give interviews about their latest project, they might be struggling not to break down crying. When they go home to their mansions, as you put it, they might be completely alone with thoughts that terrify them. That's very dramatic, Joy said dismissively, but it doesn't change the fact that they have advantages most people don't have. You're right, Danny agreed, surprising everyone. They do have advantages. They have resources. But you know what else they have? They have people like you telling them their pain isn't real because they're successful. They have commentators and talk show hosts minimizing their struggles because they don't fit some arbitrary standard of who deserves compassion. The studio was completely silent. Even the production crew had stopped their usual bustling around to watch this confrontation unfold. I never said their pain isn't real, Joy protested weakly. You said mental health is just attitude. Danny reminded her. You said it's a choice. You said people just need to toughen up. If that's not saying their pain isn't real, then what is it saying? Joy was trapped and she knew it. Every attempt to clarify or backtrack had only made things worse. I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. No, Danny said firmly. We're not going to agree to disagree. This isn't a matter of opinion, Joy. This is a matter of basic human decency. This is about whether we're going to perpetuate harmful stigma or whether we're going to show compassion for people who are struggling. I'm plenty compassionate, Joy snapped, her patience finally wearing thin. Really? Danny's eyebrows shot up. Is that what you call what happened here today? Compassion? Because from where I'm sitting, it looked like judgment, dismissal, and ignorance. The other hosts were frantically gesturing to producers off camera, clearly desperate for someone to end this segment before it got even more heated. You know what your problem is, Danny? Joy said, her voice rising again. You're so busy being politically correct and protecting everyone's feelings that you can't see the truth. Some people are stronger than others. Some people handle stress better than others. That's just reality. And you know what your problem is, Joy? Danny shot back. You think strength means suffering in silence. You think handling stress means pretending everything is fine. You think asking for help is weakness. That's not strength. That's stupidity. Joy's mouth fell open at being called stupid on national television. How dare you? How dare I what? Danny interrupted. How dare I call out dangerous rhetoric when I hear it? How dare I defend people who can't defend themselves? How dare I use my platform to speak up for mental health awareness instead of tearing it down? You're being incredibly disrespectful, Joy said, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. I'm being honest, Danny replied. Sometimes honesty feels disrespectful when you're used to people agreeing with you all the time. But someone needs to tell you that what you said today was wrong. Someone needs to tell you that your attitude toward mental health is harmful, and apparently that someone is me. The confrontation had reached its crescendo. Joy sat back in her chair, visibly deflated, while Danny remained standing, his chest heaving with emotion. I think we've said enough, Joy muttered, looking anywhere but at Danny. Have we? Danny asked. Because I don't think you've learned anything from this conversation. I don't think you understand the damage your words can do. I don't think you care about the people who might be hurt by what you said today. Joy remained silent, staring at her hands. That's what I thought, Danny said quietly. He gathered his composure, straightened his jacket, and looked directly into the camera. To anyone watching who struggles with mental health, please know that your pain is real, your struggles are valid, and asking for help is the strongest thing you can do. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. With that, Danny walked off the set, leaving Joy and the other hosts in stunned silence. The cameras continued rolling for several more seconds, capturing the aftermath of one of the most explosive confrontations in daytime television history. The studio audience sat in complete silence, processing what they had just witnessed. Joy stared at the empty chair where Danny had been sitting, her usual confidence completely shattered. This wasn't just a disagreement between two celebrities. This was a moment that exposed the deep divide in how society views mental health, and Danny DeVito had just delivered one of the most powerful defenses of mental health awareness ever captured on live television. What did you think of Danny's explosive response? Do you think he went too far, or was Joy completely out of line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to subscribe for more incredible moments like this one.